Here's how to tell exactly what's inside your tube of paint.
Each manufacturer gives a marketing name for their colors, but if you really want to know what's inside the tube, you'll look at the pigment codes listed on the back. Both of these are listed as PB29, but if you look at the front, this is listed as French ultramarine, while this one is only ultramarine. These pigments are part of a universal color index, and you can look at any of these pigments to find out exactly what they're created from. And here you can see what each of those abbreviations stands for. Different brands might give the same name to different pigments, like these two, which are both listed as raw sienna, but this one is PY43, while this one is PY42 and PBK11. And these two, which are both listed as yellow ochre, but the Artisan is PY42, while the Daniel Smith is PY43.
So if I'm used to using a certain color and I go out and buy that same color by a different manufacturer, I might get completely different results.
And other times, completely different names and even transparency ratings might be given to paints that contain exactly the same pigments.
And that's because the color has to do with more than just the pigment. It also has to do with the manufacturing process, like how finely the pigments are ground and how much of the binder is used.
The vehicle is the material that's used to bind the pigment together. In oil paint, the binder is usually linseed oil and sometimes safflower or walnut oil. In watercolor, the vehicle is gum arabic or sometimes synthetic glycol and occasionally even honey. And in acrylic paints, the vehicle is usually a polymer emulsion. The opacity of a color is also listed, which tells you the transparency or opaqueness of a certain pigment. An empty square means it's transparent. One with a diagonal line means it's semi-transparent. Half black and half white means it's semi-opaque, and completely black means it's opaque. And some paints use circles instead of squares.
This is really helpful to know because mixing two transparent colors together is going to give you a completely different effect than mixing together two opaque ones or a combination. Transparent colors are great for things like underpaintings and glazes, while opaque colors are going to give you the best coverage.
You'll also see a light fastness rating, which gives you an indication of how much the color will fade over time, with 1 being over 100 years, 3 being 15 to 50 years, and 5 being unpredictable or fugitive. Some companies list the permanence instead, which is a combination of light fastness and also other environmental factors. If you want to know how safe your paint is, look for this code on the back. This circle with the AP inside certifies that the paint is non-toxic to children and adults, and that it doesn't contain any materials in sufficient quantity to cause acute or chronic health problems. So paints that contain more harmful elements like cadmiums and cobalts will not have that seal. If a color has the word hue in the title, that means that it's not going to contain the more harmful pigments. And you can see here that this one is made with different pigments than cadmium and does contain the AP seal. One important thing to know is that even though titanium and zinc white both have the approved health seal, they also have this symbol, which means that they're harmful to aquatic life. So proper disposal of your paint water is especially important.
And that's how to tell what's in your paint.